Okay. I'm recording the second session also. So even if you have forgotten or missed, I'll try to have 2 volumes of my class, and entire class will be shown to you again. So I'm recording the second session also. Now I am able to see everybody on screen also. I'm good. No problem. Let you be seen, because yesterday that fiasco has taken place. I don't want to repeat because I'm smiling. Mahakali, you have been talking to me every day and chatting with me on WhatsApp, but on the crucial hour and crucial minute, you didn't dare to speak to me immediately on the phone saying that it was disconnected. Had you have told me this problem and repetition, the class would not have taken place. Anyway, it's a lesson learned. Any problem, do contact me immediately on my mobile. I have given you 2 mobile numbers. Kindly contact me anytime, anywhere. The idea is to make the class going and happening, and so that you learn something from me and others also of the department. Okay, now we are talking about management of succinylcholine apnea. This condition is not life-threatening. Let me tell you, if apnea occurs by accidentally given either phase 2 block excess dose of choline, or suppose the patient is a Vaishya and suddenly you have, without knowledge, you have given choline and he has gone to phase 2 block, or he is not able to metabolize at all because he is atypical pseudocholinesterase, homozygous. They are not able to metabolize. So he'll go on. That muscle relaxation, which should over within 5 to 10 minutes of choline, it will last for 6 to 8 hours. So you have to keep on ventilating him. He's not able to breathe. The biggest problem is just ventilation is not enough, because the patient is aware. How frightening it will be for a patient. You can imagine patient is aware what is happening, and he will know that he is not able to breathe and you are ventilating. It's very, very frightening. So what you have to do, you have to give a little bit of sedation till this problem lasts. As I have just now mentioned, this will not kill. Repeat. So this succinylcholine apnea will not kill the patient unless you are not aware about it, or you don't know about the existence, or not just bothered. Coolly go home, leaving the patient. He is not breathing. Unless you do such a horrible mistake, patient will not die. What you have to do, you have to keep on ventilating him, supporting ventilation, till he starts breathing of his own, till he completely metabolizes the choline. That's the only catch. Even with the strong Vaishya, within 4 to 6 hours, he will be able to metabolize the so-called choline, any amount of choline, he will start breathing. So till that time, you should have patience to ventilate the patient and save the patient. Okay, now coming to this condition is not life-threatening, but the risk of awareness is considerable. Anesthesia must be continued until full recovery. Dose of cholinesterase are fresh frozen. Still there is a problem. Then what you have to give, little bit of fresh frozen plasma, because when along with the fresh frozen plasma, you will also transfuse a little bit of pseudocholinesterase plasma, fresh plasma, which is not of Vaishya. Okay, that will take care of the so-called apnea of the choline, and it gets metabolized. I hope I understood it. Plasma sample should be taken, as I told you, quantitative measurement of atypical pseudocholine. Long paralysis from the succinylcholine caused by the abnormal pseudocholinesterase. I told you that is known as atypical cholinesterase, because it should be treated with continued mechanical ventilation and sedation, which I just mentioned, until muscle function returns to normal by clinical signs. Monitor neuromuscular transmission accurately until full recovery from the residual muscular block takes place. I can see Lakshmi, I can see Sahiti, R, all. I'm very happy. Patient who is found to have reduced enzyme activity and structurally abnormal enzyme should be given warning card. Once such thing happens, you must give a warning card to him, and alarm bracelet, so that he might be saved by you, but inadvertently, suppose he lands up in another anesthetist who doesn't know about this all fiasco. So he'll land up into the same problem. God forbid, if he is not very careful, the patient will lose his life. So you should give a warning card to the patient that he is a carrier of atypical pseudocholinesterase of homozygous trait, and he can get into this apnea, this type of apnea. So alarm bracelet has to be given in such patient. Okay. Okay. Now, drug interaction special consideration. Cholinesterase inhibitors markedly prolong depolarizing phase block. By two mechanisms. One, by cholinesterase inhibitor. What is cholinesterase inhibitor? Which we give in the end of the surgery. That is typical thing what we give cholinesterase inhibitor by giving neostigmine. If we give neostigmine after scoline, it increases the effect of scoline. How? By two mechanisms. One, by inhibiting acetylcholinesterase, higher acetylcholine concentration in our terminal happens, which intensify the depolarization, or secondly, by the inhibiting pseudocholinesterase, reduce the hydrolysis of succinylcholine by anticholinesterase. Okay? Example, organophosphorus poisoning. Pesticide. You know what happened? Organophosphorus poisoning. It is exactly like you having given the patient a neostigmine. Neostigmine is anticholinesterase. Okay. See, acetylcholine is there in the neuromuscular junction on everybody, every human being. Now, you should know how this damn organophosphorus poisons are working. Acetylcholine gets metabolized by the acetylcholinesterase, and organophosphorus drugs or neostigmine work by working as anticholinesterase. That means anti-acetylcholinesterase, by inhibiting the acetylcholinesterase. So there is nothing to make acetylcholine to be metabolized now. So acetylcholine is massively present in the neuromuscular junction. So it will have its effect. First, neuromuscular blockade, paralysis. Then muscarinic effect, drying of secretion. All those things will take place, bronchospasm. All these things happen exactly in organophosphorus. That is how they die. That's why we give anticholinergic drugs like atropine. We keep on flushing atropine till the patient gets rid of the problem. This is what. Anyway, I'm not talking about organophosphorus poisoning, but that is how irreversible inhibition of acetylcholinesterase takes place and prolong the action of succinylcholine by 20 to 30 minutes. Ecothiopate is used in eye drops, can markedly prolong succinylcholine. Next slide. Small non-depolarizing relaxin. Small dose of non-depolarizing relaxin antagonize a depolarizing phase 1 block. Can you imagine if you give little dose of vecuronium before scoline, before giving scoline, so many things take place. Small doses of non-depolarizing relaxin antagonize the depolarizing phase of 1 block, occupy some acetylcholine. So the partial prevention of depolarization by the succinylcholine takes place. If enough depolarizing agent is administered, it develops phase 2 block. Then a non-depolarizer will potentiate the paralysis. That will happen. These are the drug interaction I just now mentioned, like aminoglycoside. You see these drugs in the first group, aminoglycoside, streptomycin, kanamycin, neomycin, all these things. No? They suppose the patient is taking these drugs. All these non-depolarizing muscle relaxant get prolonged activity. Suppose non-depolarizing muscle relaxant by giving vecuronium, you are giving vecuronium, and you have inquired during PA checkup that patient is already on some antibiotic called kanamycin, neomycin, streptomycin, for some other thing. They get increased. They potentiate the effect of non-depolarizer. Similarly, anticonvulsants also will have its effect. Antiarrhythmic will have its effect on non-depolarizer. So you should know how is it. This chart will show exactly how this effect takes place on depolarizing blockade as well as effect on non-depolarizing blockade. Dosage and storage. Usual dose of succinylcholine is 1 to 2 milligram per kg body weight. IV, intravenously if you are giving, you have to give 1 to 2 milligram per kg body weight. Normally we give 100 milligram of kg body weight, assuming that most of us are around 550 kgs. So we give around 100 milligram of scoline. 1 ml of scoline is always have 50 milligram. So we give of 2 ml of scoline. Go into any anesthesia setup where you are giving scoline, you'll see we will be giving 2 ml of scoline. That is 100 milligram of scoline IV. After fasciculation, after relaxation, we intubate the patient. That's how we do. Dose as small as 0.5 milligram also will often acceptable intubating condition if defacilitating dose or non-depolarizing agent dose is not given. Even 0.5 milligram kg body weight also can cause intubating condition, not necessarily 1 to 2 milligram. Okay. Repeated small bolus doses of 10 milligram of scoline, suppose you are giving a drip of 1 gram in 500 to 1000 ml of ringalactate or 9. sodium chloride or anything, saline or anything, can be used during surgical procedures that require brief but intense paralysis. Suppose you want a lot of paralysis. The amount of paralysis which happens after scoline is unimaginable. Total relaxation, which can never happen with the non-depolarizing. Suppose you want that kind of relaxation for a more time, you can do it in a drip. You can slowly keep on giving, but at the cost of, there is every possibility of developing phase 2 block, which you will have to face and wait for longer duration of effect of scoline. If you are prepared for that, go on giving the scoline drip. When such thing can be required, ENT procedures like endoscopy, neuromonitoring should be frequently monitored with the nerve stimulated to prevent overdosing toward the phase 2 block. Okay. Now coming to next, pediatric patients are often need greater dose. Why do they need? Because they have extracellular space than the adults. Intramuscular to the children also can be given. Most of the drugs can be given intramuscular. If you want to give intramuscular, IV dose karna, 3-4 times more you have to give. That means instead of 1 milligram, you have to give 4 to 5 milligram per kg. Does not produce complete, but however, it may not produce complete paralysis because intramuscular absorption takes place erratically. It doesn't take place properly. Storage. Stored under refrigerator. How you store this choline in the thing? Many times I keep warning this operation room assistant and other brothers and all. What they do now, without knowing environment, they remove the choline foil from the fridge and they put it in the tray, and that keeps on for 5-6 days. After that, when you give IV, there won't be any effect of choline. So adequate relaxation doesn't take place, and we face problems in intubating the patient. Why on this problem? Because the storage has not been done proper. It has to be stored under refrigeration between 2 to 8 degrees centigrade. It should be used within 14 days after removal from the refrigerant exposure to room temperature. If it is more than 14 days after removal of the from the refrigerator, you can better throw it because it will not work at all. Side effects of clinical considerations. Succinylcholine is still useful for rapid sequence induction. What is rapid sequence induction? Immediately, suppose the patient comes with full stomach, full, anta tindi baga tinni vachadu, but it's an emergency. You have to take it up. Immediate surgery cheyali. Surgeon ante sir immediate cheyanడి. Naaku anavasaram vaadu tinnada leda anavasaram naaku immediate surgery laga patient chachipotadu. In that condition, we give choline. Ventilate cheyam. Endukante ventilate chesthe intragastric pressure padukutadi, aspiration chances are very much. We give choline, fasciculation takes place, total relaxation takes place. One assistant will press on the cricoid so that the esophagus nundi stomach nundi em content raadu, aspiration. After we see the glottis after relaxation, fasciculation, after ventilate cheyam oxygen. The moment relaxation vachindi, intubate chesin tarvata, cuff inflate chesin tarvata, appudu we start ventilating with oxygen. Till that time, we don't give oxygen. Before giving the drug, we pre-oxygenate the patient with 3 to 5 minutes of 100% oxygen. So that after giving choline for 2 to 3 minutes, even if we don't give oxygen, still there is enough storage of oxygen in the person to sustain and without causing hypoxia. That is known as rapid sequence induction. In that only drug which we are using, even today, even in COVID scenario, the only drug which we are giving is scoline, and scoline. Nothing but scoline, even in COVID scenario. Okay, succinylcholine is considered relatively contraindicated in routine management of children and adolescents. In mundune cheppana, children ki ivakodu. Endukante extracellular fetal receptors untaru, acetylcholine receptor. They produce more of potassium. It causes hyperkalemia. Hyperkalemia will cause cardiac arrest. So please don't give. There is another problem in giving children or young adolescents by scoline. They may be undiagnosed myopathies. వాళ్ళకి డ్యూషన్ మస్కులర్ పారాలిసిస్ ఉందని మనకు తెలియదు, అప్పటికి సిమ్టమ్స్ రాలేదు, అండ్ వీ హ్యావ్ గివెన్ స్కోలిన్. దే ఆర్ కాంట్రాఇండికేటెడ్ ఇన్ మయోపతీస్. అందుకు వి డోంట్ గివ్ ఇన్ చిల్డ్రన్ అండ్ అడాలసెంట్స్ స్కోలిన్. ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ cardiovascular problem ఏంటింది? Succinylcholine acts on cholinergic acetylcholine receptors in addition to those at the neuromuscular junction. Entire parasympathetic nervous system and parts of the sympathetic nervous system, that is sympathetic ganglions, adrenal, medulla and sweat glands are stimulated. So whatever things happens is because of this. Now, stimulation of nicotinic receptors in the parasympathetic and sympathetic ganglia and the muscarinic receptors in the sinoatrial node of the heart complex affects increase or decrease muscle pressure and heart rate. Low doses of succinylcholine produce negative chronotropic and inotropic effects, but higher doses usually increase the heart rate and contractility and elevate the circulating catecholamine level. So, low doses will cause negative chronotropic effect or inotropic. Chronotropic and heart rate tagipotadi. It causes bradycardia, scoline. Children are particularly susceptible to profound bradycardia following administration of succinylcholine. Bradycardia ante heart rate anything less than 60 is bradycardia. In adults, bradycardia will sometimes occur when a second bolus of succinylcholine is administered approximately 3 to 2 minutes after the first. Manaki first dose icham scoline intubate cheyalekapayam. So one more dose ivvara babu. Nenu malli intubate try chestan. So far so good. The problem is after the second dose, it can cause intense bradycardia, but that can be avoided by giving atropine. Second dose ichin mundu atropine ichin tarvata second dose ivvali. Otherwise, you will end up killing the patient because of severe bradycardia. Succinylcholine sensitizes the muscarinic receptors at the sinoatrial node. Intravenous atropine, just now I mentioned, 0.02 milligram per kg body weight in children and 0.4 milligram in adults is normally given prophylactically to children prior to the first and subsequent doses of scoline. It causes arrhythmia by nodal bradycardia and ventricular ectopy can happen. Now, fasciculation. I told you about fasciculation. Fasciculation because of giving scoline. Onset of paralysis, that signifies onset of paralysis by scoline signal. Good morning, Saujanya. Please hold on. I'm taking a class. I'll call you back, please. Bye. By the way, my wife's name is Saujanya. I know one of you is also Saujanya. Isn't it? One of first year students is also Saujanya. There is one Saujanya in second year also in anesthesia. She got married recently in Tadepalligudam. Almost visible motor unit contraction, that is known as fasciculation. Visible motor unit contractions are known as fasciculation. Onset of paralysis signifies by the fasciculation. Prevented by precurarization. Precurarization is a little bit of non-depolarizing drug. Intubating dose ke 1/5 to 1/10 dose mano before giving scoline 3 to 5 minutes mundu ichi scoline iste, this fasciculation will not be there. And many other problems like intragastric pressure, intraocular pressure, and potassium increase out because of giving scoline can be prevented by precurarization. Precurarization is giving little dose of non-depolarizing muscle drug before this depolarizing drug. Depolarizing is scoline, non-depolarizing is vecuronium. Little bit of vecuronium if you give 3 to 5 minutes before giving scoline, we can prevent all the bad effects of scoline. Incidentally, this was my thesis topic way back in 1989. This is the same topic. Precurarization before scoline, how it can prevent hyperkalemia, muscle pain post-operatively. This was my thesis topic. Okay, you will be given soon your thesis topic. You'll have to work on it. We will help you. Not observed in young children or elderly. Hyperkalemia. Just now I was mentioning about hyperkalemia. Precurarization is the hyperkalemia koda avvadu. By giving little bit of non-depolarizing muscle drug before giving scoline. Okay, we can prevent hyperkalemia by scoline and save the patient. Succinylcholine induced depolarization. Increase serum potassium by 0.5 milliequivalent per liter. Insignificant patient with normal baseline potassium. However, if the patient is already having higher level of potassium, like around 0.5, 5.5 milliequivalent or 6 milliequivalent per liter already, appudu vadiki 0.5 milliequivalent per liter increase koda can cause fatal occurrence. Normal ఉన్నవాడికి already 3 or 4 milliequivalent potassium. Even 0.5 milliequivalent increases, he will not die. Okay, but if the person is already having higher scale of potassium in him, he may die because of hyperkalemia. Insignificant patient with normal baseline potassium can be life-threatening patient with pre-existing hyperkalemia. Hyperkalemic cardiac arrest can prove to be quite refractory to routine cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Problem ఏంటంటే వచ్చితే hyperkalemic cardiac arrest, we can't resuscitate. CPR చేసినా వాడు బ్రతకడు. Requiring calcium, insulin, glucose, and even cardiopulmonary blood pressure. If such thing happens, you'll have to give decrease hyperkalemia by giving calcium or insulin or glucose, and even you have to do cardiopulmonary bypass. Now, I was talking about extrajunctional receptors and hyperkalemia. Now is the time to understand it better. Condition causing susceptibility to succinylcholine induced hyperkalemia. What happens? After burn injury, this problem can occur. Massive trauma, severe intra-abdominal infection, spinal cord injury, encephalitis, stroke, Guillain-Barré syndrome, severe Parkinson's disease, tetanus, prolonged tetanus, total body immobilization, rupture cerebral aneurysm, polyneuropathy, closed head injury, hemorrhagic shock with metabolic acidosis, myopathy. Just now I mentioned about Duchenne dystrophy. All this can cause hyperkalemia. You have to be forewarned. Mechanism of hyperkalemia. Denervation of the injuries, spinal cord injuries, larger burns will cause immature isoform of similar to acetylcholine receptors are formed. They are known as, they are expressed inside and outside of the neuromuscular junction, upregulation under them. Succinylcholine is very sensitive to immature acetylcholine receptors. They are known as extrajunctional receptor. Results in extensive potassium release. Those, if they interact with scoline, these extrajunctional receptors, they cause extensive potassium release and cause death. Life-threatening potassium release is not reliably prevented by the pre-treatment of non-depolarization. We can't help it by depolarization, pre-treatment by giving after this burns and all, nothing can save you. So don't give scoline immediately after burn, especially after 2 days, because extrajunctional receptors already formed. Risk of hyperkalemia usually seems to peak in 7 to 10 days following the injury. 7 to 10 days peak effect. Risk of hyperkalemia free vaccinally is minimum in first 2 days. However, as just mentioned, within first 2 days, the risk of hyperkalemia is minimal, highest between 7 to 10 days, and it will last for few months, even up to 1 year. This is the same thing slide which is shown, which depicts succinylcholine, potassium, myoclonus, denervated muscle, alaga extrajunctional fluid, alaga vastunda myoclonus, ekkadi nunchi potassium hyperkalemia ela produce avutunda chupinchadu indulo. Muscle pain. I have told you muscle pain can occur post-operatively after surgery because of using patient scoline. Patient will complain of severe muscle pain for 2 days after the surgery also because of having been given scoline. Increased incidence of post-operative myalgia prevention can be done by giving non-depolarizer, that is called precurarization. Earlier my time lo vicuronium ichcharu. Recently they have found out the rocuronium is the best drug to prevent all the problems of scoline. Ippudu rocuronium is just recently introduced drug. We give 0.06 to 0.1 milligram per kg prior to succinylcholine has been reported to be the most effective for reducing muscle pains and other problems like hyperkalemia, intragastric pressure increase, and intraocular pressure tension increase. By giving rocuronium 0.06 to 1 milligram per kg body weight prior to giving scoline. Myalgia are theorized to be due to initial unsynchronized contraction of the muscle group. Treatment, use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs may be reduced the incidence severity of myalgia. Intragastric pressure elevation outar nenu already cheppan due to abdominal wall muscle circulation, intragastric pressure increases after giving scoline. No evidence that the risk of gastric reflux or pulmonary aspiration is increased by scoline. However, this increase in intragastric pressure may not cause aspiration. Aspiration ante enti stomach contents ilaga meedaki vachi pharynx కు వచ్చి into the glottis వెళ్ళి trachea నుండి lungs లోకి వెళ్ళిపోతే aspiration అంటారు. Intraocular pressure. Just now I mentioned extraocular muscle have multiple motor end plates on each cell. Prolonged membrane depolarization and contraction of extraocular muscle occur. Transiently raise intraocular pressure and theoretically could compromise an injured patient. Theoretically, remember the word I have used. Theoretically, it can compromise the injured patient by increasing the intraocular pressure by giving scoline. But on ground, very rarely this happens. Okay, no evidence that succinylcholine leads to worsened outcome in patients with open eye injuries. Prevention, not always prevented by pre-treatment with non-depolarizing agent. Not always, but it does help. Masseter, muscle rigidity. Scoline is masseter muscle, you can never miss the rigidity of the muscle. Transient increases muscle tone in that masseter muscle, some difficulty in the opening of the mouth. This is very normal. Nothing to worry. But marked increase, M-A-R-K-E-D, marked increase in the tone preventing laryngoscopy is abnormal in giving after scoline masseter muscle rigidity. This is a premonitory sign that this patient can land up into one horrible situation that is known as malignant hyperthermia. Okay? Malignant hernia enti. Succinylcholine is a potent triggering agent to patients susceptible to malignant hyperthermia. Intracranial pressure. Succinylcholine may lead to an activation of the electroencephalogram and slight increase in the cerebral blood flow, intracranial pressure. Prevention. Increase the intracranial pressure can be attenuated by maintaining good airway control and instituting hyperventilation. However, intracranial pressure increase by controlling and properly ventilation, hyperventilation is the path. Pre-treatment is not about muscle relaxant. Administering intravenous lidocaine. Lidocaine could enter, lidocaine could enter. 1.5 milligram to 2 milligram per kg body weight. 3 to minutes prior to intubation, we can prevent all this increase in intracranial pressure. This may be, you can use it as one of the thesis topic. Chala interesting. Okay, by giving lidocaine, intravenous lidocaine, 1 to 0.5 to 2 milligram per kg body, 2 to 3 minutes prior to the intubation, we can prevent development of increase in intracranial pressure after giving scoline. It can be one of the thesis topics. I am giving you one example. Succinylcholine, and the research work here. Not that you are, nobody has done it. There are thousands of people already done this research work. Only you have to do the same research work on the same line and see whether what they have found is right or wrong. That's all is thesis. Nothing. What people have done, you will find the same thing by doing yourself the same test and same experiment research again and find whether their findings are correct or not, or something more you have seen. That is what you have to write in the thesis. That's all. Nothing to worry about it. We are there to guide you. Okay. So succinylcholine is not contraindicated rapid sequence induction in patients with intracranial lesion. Other causes of increased intracranial pressure. So just now I mentioned it is not contraindicated in rapid sequence induction, even if the patient is having raised intracranial pressure. Non-depolarizing muscle. And now so far everything is over excepting few discussion about non-depolarizing muscle relaxant. With that I'll complete the lecture. Now, I told you basically broadly two types, steroidal and benzyl isoquinoline. Chala complicated, how to pronounce it? Benzyl isoquinoline. That examples of atracurium, cis-atracurium, mevacurium, doxacurium, AV002. AV002 and it is still in the experimental stage. The name also has not been given to so-called drug. Historical interest in tubocurarine, nenu ippude cheppanu. అప్పుడు ఎప్పుడో వాడేవారు ఏంటే అమెరికన్ ట్రైబ్స్ సౌత్ అమెరికన్ ట్రైబ్స్ అండ్ ఆఫ్రికన్ ట్రైబ్ ఫర్ ఆరో పాయిజన్ ట్యూబోక్యులరిన్. ఎందుకు ట్యూబోక్యులరిన్ ట్యూబ్ లాంటి బ్యాంబూస్ లో ఉండి పెట్టేవారు, అది జాగ్రత్తగా దాచేవారు, ఎందుకు ట్యూబోక్యులరిన్ దాని పేరు. ఓకే, క్యురారే CURARE హిస్టారికల్ ఇంపార్టెంట్. మెటోక్యూరిన్, గ్యాలనిన్, alkyronium, decamethonium. Enti decamethonium enti? Decamethonium is exactly like scoline. We are not using it because it's too many side effects. Now only depolarizing muscle relaxant which is in use is scoline. Decamethonium, although it is just like scoline, we are not using. Although it is a depolarizing muscle relaxant. Steroidal, what are they? Pancuronium. Running out of time. Oh God. Okay, second session is almost about to be over in few minutes. I think I'm breaking all the records of the hospital ashram by doing 2 lectures end to end, back to back, breaking all the records. Now the second session of this thing also is about to be over in another few minutes. So let me complete the entire class within few minutes. Spheroidal topics are, which are the examples? Pancuronium, nothing but Pavlon. Vecuronium. Vecuronium you will be using day in and day out, every day. You will be using in the OT. Rocuronium, just now I said, it is the newly formed, newly used, newly discovered non-depolarized muscle relaxant. Pipacuronium, Rapacuronium. Rapacuronium, but now we are not at all using because of severe bronchospasm, although it is in the steroidal group. Other chlorophumarates are Gantacurium. This is the chemical structure of the whole thing. If you see, this is the pide on the left side, the acetylcholine. 2 acetylcholines kalpiste scoline. Right side choose the pancuronium. You can see the chemical. If you know organic chemistry, if you see the center, that is exactly steroid group of drug enter. That hexagonal shape, 4 untaye, okati back to back kalsi danni steroid structure enter. Dan tarvata ammonium, quaternary ammonium ante 4th radical is 4th level lo ammonium alkyl radical is attached. NH3, NCH3 is attached. That is pancuronium. Difference between pancuronium is, and one more step, improvement into vecuronium. Vecuronium doesn't have the bad effects of Pavlon. That has been discovered, which we are using day in and day out. Pavlon causes tachycardia, which is deleterious to the patient by causing harm to the patient. It can cause cardiac arrest or ischemia of the heart because of tachycardia. That is not there in vecuronium because it doesn't release, it doesn't have extra regulatory effects nor histamine release. Vecuronium lo em chesadu, if you see ఇందులో ఒక CH3 ఉంది, ఇందులో CH3 లేదు. ఒక్క CH3 తీసిస్తే vecuronium తయారైంది. There is some more element, some other change, small change చేశాడు, అక్కడ నుంచి vecuronium became rocuronium. Just little bit of changes. If you study this diagram, you will come to know how easily new drugs can be formed by purely altering few radicals this and here and there. You can create a new molecule and start testing on human beings or animals, whether they are working in a better way or harmful way. Now, unique pharmacological characteristic. Suitability for intubation. None of the currently available non-depolarized muscle relaxant equals succinylcholine. Just now I mentioned, succinylcholine ko vachina relaxation, even 1/10 of that relaxation rather by non-depolarized muscle relaxant, even the best of best. So best drug for relaxation is scoline and scoline. Intubation ke sukhanga intubation cheyalante scoline ibbali. Onset of non-depolarized can quicken by giving either larger dose or priming dose. After giving non-depolarization, scoline kiste within 30 to 40 seconds the intubating effect vachistadi. You can intubate maximum after 60 seconds. But the problem with non-depolarizing relaxant also you can intubate, but the effect will come after 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes. So till that time you have to keep on ventilating. So that is very painful. You have to give non-depolarizing, wait for 3 minutes before you intubate. Suppose there is an urgency to be intubation, you have to give scoline, otherwise non-depolarizing relaxing. However, the intubating effect relaxation is not very, very good, just like scoline. So you'll have little difficulty in intubating. However, you can intubate with non-depolarizing relaxants also. Best example, non-depolarizing relaxant, I told you, vecuronium. Other is rocuronium. Okay, atracurium also called non-depolarizing. It is benzyl isoquinoline group. This is steroidal group. Twice the dose of ED95 has to be given for intubation. ED95 anti effective dose 95. Effective dose 95 of every drug will be there, especially in muscle relaxant. Then double the dose is there, you can hasten the process of relaxation. And intubating condition can be obtained before 3 minutes. 2 minutes lo kuda vachestadi if you give more dose of this effective. For neuromuscular worker, ED95 is the dose that produces 95% in 50% of individuals. Almost there over. Why potent NMDA has slow onset of action? Why is the priming dose? General rule, the more potent the non-depolarized relaxer, the slower its speed of onset. Priming doses giving 10 to 15%. I told you 10 to 15% of usual intubating dose 5 minutes before induction will occupy enough receptors so that paralysis will quickly follow when the balance of relaxin is administered. Suitability for preventing fasciculation. To prevent fasciculation and myalgia, 10 to 15% of non-depolarizing intubating dose, 3 to 5 minutes before choline has to be given. Shortly given before succinylcholine choline, prevent myalgia, but fasciculation will not be inhibition. Rocuronium has been most popular for pre-curarization. Next, maintenance relaxation. Following intubation, muscle paralysis may need to be maintained to facilitate surgery, for example, abdominal operation to permit a reduced depth of anesthesia to control ventilation. Potentiation by inhalation anesthetics. Volatile agents decrease non-depolarizing dose by at least 15%. Actual degree of potentiation depends on inhalation anesthetics like desflurane, which is more than sevoflurane, isoflurane, and enflurane, more than halothane. Okay, muscle relaxant employed are pancuronium more than vicuronium, which is more than atracurium. Autonomic side effects by giving non-depolarized muscle relaxant. Blocking of autonomic ganglion results in reducing the ability of sympathetic nervous to increase the heart contraction and rate in response to hypotension and other interruptive stresses, for example, tuberculosis, antilyserexin, metocurine. Block vagal muscarinic receptors in the sinoatrial node, anti-tachycardia. Pancuronium, which produces newer non-depolarized such as atracurium, cis-atracurium, vicuronium, rocuronium are devoid of significant autonomic effects. Okay, however, it produces histamine. Histamine can cause bronchospasm. So, if the bronchospasm ain't problem, if the patient is already asthmatic and you have given these drugs which releases histamine, histamine occurrence release from the mast cell, they will cause severe bronchospasm. So patient is already having problems with his breathing and you are giving some drug which causes increase in histamine level. So that will cause further bronchospasm. The patient may die of severe bronchospasm. Meaning, oxygen bronchospasm takes place. So you have to avoid giving these drugs on a bronchial asthmatic patients. Histamine release. Histamine release from the mast cells results in bronchospasm, skin flushing, hypotension. Pancuronium, metocuronium, and vicuronium are capable of triggering histamine release. Prevention, slow injection or H1H2 antihistamine blockers. These are the table which shows atracurium, cis-atracurium, and pancuronium symmetry of pharmacology of non-depolarizing muscle relaxant. General pharmacology characteristics are non-depolarizing. Temperature, hypothermia prolongs the blockade. Okay, acid-base balance, respiratory acidosis potentiate the blockade of most non-depolarizing muscle relaxant. Electrolyte abnormality, hypokalemia and hypocalcemia augments non-depolarizing block, drug interaction, concurrent disease. If you already have concurrent disease like cirrhotic liver disease and chronic liver failure, increased volume of distribution, lower plasma concentration for a given dose and water-soluble drugs like muscle relaxant. So the drug dependent on hepatic and renal excision may demonstrate prolonged clearance. Individual non-depolarized NMDAs. One is atracurium, already told about it in detail. It is a benzyl isocyanide structure. Most important thing, atracurium, it is a magic drug. Even if you have renal problem and kidney, liver problem, all the drugs are metabolized in kidney or in liver. But atracurium is a magic drug. It doesn't get metabolized either in kidney nor in liver. It gets metabolized by Hoffman elimination methods and the ester hydrolysis. So even if the patient doesn't have anything working like renal failure, liver failure, still you can give a muscle relaxant called atracurium or cis-atracurium because it undergoes metabolism by Hoffman elimination and ester hydrolysis. Okay, that is it. After Hoffman degradation, what is produced? Laudonosine. I'll tell you about it. Dosage and storage, anta 0.5 milligram per kg body weight for intubation. Okay, atracurium. Side effects and clinical. Just now I told you, histamine release untundi. It causes hypotension, tachycardia, and bronchospasm.